good to be king, Booch. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Male Soap Opera Moment featuring the one and only my number one subject, Vincent Kennedy Bucci, here for the celebration committee. Is this correct?
Yep,
That's right.
I'm handing out the cigars in celebration to crown the new champion. Yes, Wenz did win the title in the most funniest anticlimactic way possible. It was so great. We disagreed on one match. It's the opening match. So he ended up winning the whole thing before the show even started. So if we weren't analysts, we wouldn't have to watch anymore after that. But we are, so we did.
Yes. And Booch, sometimes it's about the details. And as the new leader here, your prediction champion, When's Worldians, I have an address specifically for you. I'm here to rescue you from this failing economy that Bucci has brought. You go to the grocery store, look at the average ticket you're paying. I'm bringing back maximum value to When's World in the form of a new prediction champion, and I invite you to go to your gas pumps, look at the before and after. Take a look back at your checking balance, and you'll see the difference. The Wen's difference. Brought to you by When's World for President. So I did approve that message. I stand behind every word that I just said, and I do. I mean it. And listen, predictions are going to get better and better. Ladies and gentlemen, you're in for the ride of your life. Extreme Rules has come and gone, but we are not going to leave it behind. We're going to recap it, address it. Booch, let's talk about it. All in all, my overall 10,000-foot view, and we'll take it to a more granular view here, is it was a bang-in pay-per-view. Like,
oh yes,
it outshined any expectations I had, and based on your reaction, I think you agree.
Yes, I definitely enjoyed the pay-per-view overall. Obviously, I did have my thoughts, my moments, but as far as an overall show, they delivered. It started off good and they finished strong when we get to that. They had a strong finish that on the just when people thought they were about to be disappointed or swerved, they delivered on the promise, as it were. And I guess we should kick it off with the match that crowned the king, the Donnybrook match.
And what a match it was, right? Because usually these opening matches are either like ones you get your Doritos and your soda ready, or they're like these kinds of matches where, these kinds of gimmicky matches, I guess is the best way to put it, are kind of spotty, right? And they worked a lot better during the COVID era because they could utilize the space around the ring, but they didn't fail. Like, this was a win. Everybody got involved. They told this story. It was like a legit bar fight, minus the broken bottles and lawsuits. And I feel like, because I won this match, it was not only a great match because of that, but also, even if I had lost, Booch, I was strangely satisfied after this match. Like, I could have stopped watching and been like, that was a decent Extreme Rules. Like, that was a pretty good showing. Like, if I didn't know any better, I could have walked away and been okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, it delivered. And what I loved about it was the fact that it had a bar fight feel to it.
Yeah.
Because here's why. Because you got an Extreme Rules match already booked on the show. So that's going to have weapons. That's going to be violent, or so we thought. And you got the bar fight. It gives you a different, like, okay, we have different weapons that we can use. Because that's the key thing you got to do. Because the last thing you want is every match to be exactly the same. That's why it's always like, if you have like an Extreme Rules match or a Falls Count Anywhere or a No Holds Barred, they're pretty much the same thing. The only difference is Falls Count Anywhere is you can have a pin anywhere. So you got at least some difference there. So what better way to be like, okay, the Extreme Rules match is going to have all the weapons. That's a given. So how do we make this different? We bring in the bar fight aspect. Let's use the barrels, the bottles, the glasses, the pints, the kegs. That way they got different weapons to use. So when the Extreme Rules match comes in, they can use the tables and the chairs and the barbed wire and the bats and everything. So I like that because they made it different and make it stand out on its own. And the fact that everybody worked together well as a team. I love the finish of holding the blonde guy, as I know his name, and while Sheamus bro kicks him, I thought was great.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you did not know who was gonna win. Like there were false finishes, but they all made sense.
I mean, let's just correct that. I knew who was going to win. Now, most people, I think you want to reframe that.
Well, the you was for the audience. It was a generalization. It wasn't you
Right, right,
personally.
right.
Clearly, you backed the right horse on this one.
Yes, yes,
I did not.
yes, yes, yes. But you're right. Did not disappoint. So we already knew who the winner was going to be because unknowingly we picked all the same, winners moving forward. But
Yes,
that's not going to stop us from recapping, right?
exactly.
So what was next?
Next, we had, and I can't believe this wasn't the main event, or at least close to it. They put the Extreme Rules match on second. Why? The pay-per-view is called Extreme Rules. How is this not your main event or your semi-main event? That's ridiculous.
Well, I think the main event we know belongs to the Ultimate Bro, right?
It belonged to the Fight Pit. That's who the main event was, the Fight Pit, because they take the featuring Seth freaking Rollins and his 12-year-old opponent.
This is broken, ladies and gentlemen. He means Matt Riddle and
Matt Riddle. Yes, Matt Riddle. He was in it, but I'm saying I found out later because they take the ropes and the turnbuckles off. So I'm like, okay, now I get why this was the main event. But this should have been closer to the end of the card. You don't put an Extreme Rules match on second. And I'm not gonna lie, I expected better from this match. It was not as violent as it should have been. First of all, here's the question I want to have. Again, my big thing is psychology. So I want to get your take on this.
Okay.
It's no disqualification. Anything goes. Why are you leaning a bat against the turnbuckle and having to fight to go grab it? How are you not going right out of the gate, swinging for the fences in a match with no disqualifications? Did Liv Morgan bump her head on the railing on the way to the gorilla position to come out to the ring? Or is she as dopey, or is she just a ditzy Girl Scout like always? Like, she put the blonde and dumb blonde on that move where you in a no DQ match where anything goes. I'm going to show a ruthless side and I'm going to lean my bat against the turnbuckle and you two are going to scramble to go grab it.
I think
who agented this match?
I get your frustration, but I feel like they had to do it that way. Because we all know that in real life, Liv Morgan is not going to beat up Ronda Rousey. But in kayfabe land, there is such a thing. And you have to put the equalizer aside to begin. And look, she had her shot. She took a swipe and Rousey grabbed it. And then she got a hold of it. So we saw a lot of back and forth there. I got to say, I'm happy that Rousey won, and I'm also happy that Liv Morgan lost the way she did. It wasn't a squash. It was a good match. Like I think Liv Morgan continues to progress. And I know the character development needs some work, but as far as what matters, her in-ring presence and prowess, like, she's on point.
Yeah. The only character development I saw in this match is that when she lost, she was smiling instead of crying.
Yeah, that was weird. She got put to sleep, and it was almost like a Joker-esque.
Yeah.
She fell asleep, kind of like pinned between the
table and her legs. It was a weird thing. I couldn't tell what that was, but I think it was one of those things where, like, she knew she was out, but she was like not. I think she smiled because she didn't tap. Like, she was just gonna pass out. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like when the Undertaker and Lesnar fought at SummerSlam a few years back, and the Undertaker had the Hell's Gate, and Lesnar knew he was going to be unconscious, so he just gives him the finger as he's nodding off. So he looks at the Undertaker like, yeah, I'm going to be passed out, but still, like, F you, and then passed out, and Taker won. I think it was kind of like that. Like she knows she's trapped. She's got nowhere to go. She's not giving up. So she's kind of smiling like, you didn't make me tap, bitch, and then passed out. And then Ronda walked out with the title. And There was no points on this one because we both thought the Girl Scout was going to beat the prison inmate, but nope, that's not the case. Go sell your cookies somewhere else. And
Yeah, it was for me, and you know, we're not gonna dive too much into it because we already know who won and who lost, but like it's about timing and like the feel and the sway, and it's like and it also depends on what's going on behind the scenes, you know, who's doing what, who's going on vacation, who's having kids, you know, and it just seems like I guess Rhonda's schedule opened up a hair. So
yeah,
here we are with a new champion, and it's gonna really kind of invite a lot more, I think, opportunity for the ladies on that side. So it's going to be interesting, and I'm excited for her, and also to see what happens with Liv. I'm sure there'll be a rematch again. I'm sure there'll be another match. Um, maybe at in Saudi Arabia, we'll see, but they'll be covered up. Who knows?
yeah.
But no, I loved the match. It was great. So both of us felt the timing was on, and we were both right. So what was next?
Next, we had the strap match,
Eh,
Karrion Cross versus Drew McIntyre, and I'll say this: it brought the brutality,
yeah,
it brought the violence, but for me and a lot of old school like wrestling fans, we couldn't get into this match because they for some reason WWE is changing what a strap match is supposed to be, and I may have touched on this a little bit last time we spoke, but
yeah,
basically, for those of you that didn't see last episode, I'll explain what this is: a strap match, a bull rope match, a chain match, all supposed to follow one stipulation where you beat your opponent senseless with the strap or whatever, but you're supposed to touch the four corners in succession. And you're supposed to stop the guy from doing it. And if he stops you, you got to start all over again. The purpose of that stipulation is to avoid pinfalls, submission. It's a way to keep a rivalry going without having to pin or submit somebody. And it's a great finish. It also helps keep everything in the ring, prevent people from running away. Obviously, somehow they went out to the floor. They were able to make that work and somehow get back in the ring. But then, of course, it ends with Scarlett doing the pepper spray and Karrion Cross hitting his finisher for the win. And I'm like, first of all, I don't feel like we needed that because I feel they're trying to protect Drew from what? Another pay-per-view where he's going to sing at the end? We don't need it. So didn't need the protection. And also, Karrion Cross shouldn't really need that much help to win. He's badass enough on his own. And also, I've been hearing from some people who, and I'm amazed I know this many people who are pepper spray experts, but apparently that's not realistically how you spray pepper spray. Apparently, if you were to spray it that much in real life, that was real pepper spray, like you would be in the front row and it would make you tear up. Because apparently she just held the can down. Because apparently she overdid the pepper spray, even though it wasn't real pepper spray. And I just felt like the finish was unnecessary and I just couldn't get into it, but it was violent.
yeah. I mean, it was. I had no expectations, but it was all the violence. Although I could tell they weren't hitting each other as hard as maybe they were selling it because I was looking for the red marks and there just weren't that many. Like on a Ric Flair chop, you'd see more red,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you know that was something that kind of bothers me. Like I wanted to see a little more blood. I don't want to sound sadistic, but
Yeah.
for an Extreme Rules pay per view, come on, man. For me, just for a strap match, like I want to see a little more. I mean, I kind of honestly, I kind of like that the hot chick running interference. What's her name again?
Scarlet.
Scarlett, yeah. I mean, that's cool. He's a heel. Like you got to have your manager there, and maybe if as long as they're consistent with the pepper spray, it's gonna work.
Yeah. I
Like
mean,
they got to
yeah,
be consistent with it and
exactly.
make it a thing. But eventually, you got to counter that with something. So how do you know what's the how do they do that? Like, so I'm interested in when the match happens, the next match, it'll be probably a rematch or something.
Yeah.
Cross is on the come up, right? He's on the upswing. McIntyre's on the downswing. McIntyre seems to me like he's going to be playing the part of a Dolph Ziggler, kind of like getting in the ring, helping other people to look a little better. So that's kind of where I see Drew, man, because obviously he's not in the title match coming up in Saudi Arabia. So
Nope.
we could talk a little bit about that. We'll get to that here in a hair. But Booch, what was next on the card?
We had the ladder match for the Raw Women's Championship. Bianca
Oh, great
Belair
match.
defended against Bayley.
Awesome match. Listen, we both knew what was going to happen here. We both had a feeling, and but there were so many times when I was just like, man, it's just like Bianca can't catch a break. Like
Yeah.
you got damage control running interference, and then luckily Bianca gets a little bit of help, and then it just all hell breaks loose. And there was so much back and forth with this. I loved this match. This might have been my favorite match of the night. Like for me personally, like it was so good.
Yeah, I highly enjoyed it. Still wish it had been an I Quit match, but still, I love this because it was a one-on-one ladder match. So it gave us something that that a lot of ladder matches lately have not been doing,
Sure.
and that is psychology and storytelling. Because every other ladder match we've seen over the last few months or years or whatever,
Tag
it's
teams.
usually either tag teams or 7 people,
Sure.
like the Money in the Bank, or even like 6-person ladder matches, whether it was an AEW or an NXT. They do an abundance of it. They got one coming up for the Halloween Havoc show for NXT. They got 6 people in a ladder match. And whenever you got more than that, when you got that many people in a ladder match, it's going to be a spot fest. It's going to be disorganized. You're just going to see people going through ladders or falling off. No, all the time. They told a story with the ladders. They had their spots. They were properly well placed. Everything worked out. In the end, Bianca retained. I would have preferred Bayley win here. I felt this was the win she should have had, but I can't deny the match was great. So we both got points for the Karrion Kross match. None of us got points for this ladder match, but like you said, it was still great. They still delivered. And like I said, it was one of the best ladder matches I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, and
Loved
this
it.
is one that we talked about timing earlier. Maybe we were a little bit off on that. Um, I kind of thought that it was going to be time because of the way they've been booking damage control and all the promos and spots. But I'm also not disappointed. Like I also feel like because the way they handled their business in the ring,
Yes.
like I'm all right, I'm cool. We're gonna see a rematch. Like it's gonna happen. I'm not
Yeah.
worried. Like I actually kind of like this. It makes me want it more. And when it
Yeah.
happens, it's gonna be like sweet. Then how do they handle it? Because how long can Bailey hold this role? And then when Dakota and Io want to go a little more solo or really work that tag team that they're doing, obviously first before they ever go solo, like how is that going to impact Bailey and the stability of the stable? But those are problems for the future. Those are good problems
Yes.
to have for the ladies side of WWE. But yeah, great match for me, great match for you. We both were wrong on this, so maybe a pay-per-view or two early on that transition, but time will tell. What was next?
Next, we had the I Quit match.
Mm,
Finn
mm.
Balor versus Edge. Beautiful.
God dog. This one hurt my heart.
Oh,
God dog. Like real talk. The way you can't, if somebody has a gun to somebody's head and they give you what you want, you can't shoot them in the head. Like
yeah.
it's against what even bad guys don't do that. Like there is, believe it or not, there's a code. And even the bad guys live by this code, and it's like once you surrender, and Edge surrendered. Like he surrendered. And and it was ugly. What
Yeah.
happened was ugly. It should not have happened. And the fact that Ripley, and I knew it was going to happen too. I knew it. He wasn't going to be able to save her. Booch, what was your take on the match, but also the deviance of what happened with the Judgment Day to Edge's wife? Go ahead.
From watching it, it was brutal. But as a wrestling analyst, and
Brilliant.
from a strict analyst storytelling standpoint, I'm gonna say this: beautiful.
Yeah.
It was a work of art.
Oh.
That if you were gonna get Edge to say "I quit,"
It's the only way.
that's the perfect way to do it.
Yeah.
Like that was the most effective. because I've seen there's a lot of strong baby faces they have gotten to quit by doing that very thing, whether it was a female situation or like a close friend or whatever. That's how they would get, like, because you got Edge sitting there. He's not going to quit. He's not going to give up. They've handcuffed him to the rope. He's still not going to do it. Beth Phoenix coming in was beautiful, taking everybody out with a kendo stick, unlocking Edge. Edge says, grab me. She gets the chair, brings it in. He rips the thing off. He's torturing Balor. These two, first of all, fought all over the building.
Yeah,
it was
great.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I love the fact they were saying more things rather than no, like go to hell, no way, kiss my ass. I like I quit matches. Like in the beginning, they're saying no, but I like when they come up with creative things to say.
Yeah.
Like go to hell, kiss my ass, or hell. I remember watching Lucha Underground in an I Quit match, and they were on the El Rey network, so they had a lot more opening. And this girl's in an I Quit match. She yelled, "Fuck you!" and the crowd popped like crazy.
Sure.
Because not only did she break out, she got the other person to quit, and it was like the loudest pops I've ever heard in wrestling. And so it's a beautiful thing when they can say different words and stuff. Or even John Cena telling The Miz he hits like a girl. You know,
he'd be canceled nowadays. You can't say
for that. Oh yeah, he'd be canceled for that now. This was like 10 years ago.
The hero that protected hero is the China protected hero that John Cena is now.
Oh yeah, and it was the thing, but it was so great. The storytelling was wonderful. You didn't know who was going to quit. You didn't know how they were what was going to happen, but they finally got him to quit. And then the chair thing, I do agree, they should have just dropped the chair and walked off, because to me, it's like. To me, it sends the message that you make the guy, first of all, you're making the babyface look stupid for giving up. And second of all, what's anyone else's incentive to give into that demand if you're just going to do it anyway?
Yeah. Oh, for future reference, like, yeah, no, just go ahead and do it. I'm not going to.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't want you to hit my girl with a chair, but you're going to hit her whether I say it or not. So you might as well just get it over with. And then I dare you to get me to quit. So, because that was ridiculous. Like, it should have stopped right there, because Beth was already out. She was already unconscious. Edge still could have crawled over, saw if she was okay. She's still out. The Judgment Day walks away. And then you could lead it to something where, like, at maybe Crown Jewel or something, you have the mixed tag, Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley against Edge and Beth, or maybe Rhea and Dominic against Edge and Beth Phoenix. You could have built something there, but instead, all you're doing now is giving them an excuse to sit out on the sidelines for a while Judgment Day does what they're doing with AJ Styles and everything else. And we'll get to that after we're done with the pay-per-view. But like I said, great storytelling here. They did a brilliant job of getting Edge to quit in a brilliant way.
Absolutely.
And then we have our main event, the Fight Pit.
It was great. It was great. Yeah. It was a great match. And it ended with Riddle on top. And it was a great match. Like, this is one that could have gone either way. Like, I loved it. So it was brilliant. I love the way it was done. And I like they had Daniel Cormier in there. Mm-hmm.
And here's what I loved about this. He was fair and impartial throughout.
Yep.
Like, on two separate occasions, Matt Riddle and Seth, whether intentionally or unintentionally, put their hands on Cormier. And one by one, he put each one against the cage and said, "Don't touch me. Like, I'm warning you right now.
Yeah.
I'm the ref. I make the rules. I will knock you out. Don't touch me." And both of them were kind of like, "Yes, sir. Gotcha. No problem." Like,
right.
And it's Daniel Cormier, so they're not weak for backing down. This guy's a UFC light heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
So it's not like Seth doesn't look weak, because that's an MMA fighter that will choke you the F out. So it made sense. And Matt Riddle knows not to mess with him either. So both of them were kind of like, "Yeah, gotcha. Sorry." So I love that. And of course, Matt Riddle gets the submission, taps Seth out. They're fighting all over the place. I think that floating bro from the top was not a smart move. I feel like that could have. Yeah, that was too dangerous. I felt like, luckily they're both okay, but that could have been
disc or something, man. I mean, that was, even if it is like you're landing differently and not, obviously you're not landing right on top of him. That would kill a man. But like, even if you're landing on your butt, you're still landing on your butt.
Yeah.
It's still a fall, and it's still a lot. It's still canvas or whatever, but yeah, to your point, exactly. Like that's not a smart move. But hey, that's why Riddle's in these matches because he'll put it on the line. He doesn't stop. He's like, hey, I'm going for it. I don't care.
Exactly. And then Matt Riddle's getting his hand raised. The crowd's happy, but they're a slight upset at the same time. You can tell from the vibe. And then the lights go out.
Yeah, yeah. Weird smell, buzzards,
Yep.
uh,
And then
smoke,
everybody's
and
wondering, okay, everyone's getting excited. Everyone's getting excited until he's got the whole world
yeah,
in his hands. And the
yeah,
crowd's going nuts.
yeah. That was crazy. It was
Oh,
crazy. So let's. We don't have a ton of time, so
all right.
I want to get to the brass tacks of this, right? Because Bray Wyatt comes back. He's been gone for a long time. He had a
Yes.
nice story with WWE for a while. He had a championship run, and then he fell to the back of the line. Apparently, he was button heads. But it looks like now that there's new leadership, Triple H is calling the shots. They have new writers, yada, yada, yada. The vibe is different, right? It seems like Bray Wyatt's back, and it's really, really gonna be something that works because I I hope that it's like not too much of a character Bray Wyatt. Can I just say I loved the Bray Wyatt that I saw when he was like, this is me talking. Like this is me. I'm breaking character, like this is me. Y'all saved my life. Like what y'all did for me. I felt like all of it was for nothing. And that's isn't that just the struggle? Like you hear about all these people in the world that like live this super accomplished life and they do all these things and they have all these degrees and they've been in all these movies and they have all this money and whatever success looks like. But there's this emptiness. And I love that they're playing on the emptiness because for him it's probably real. Like it's probably a mix of like, hey, this plays into the darkness that Bray Wyatt is, but it also plays into the human struggle of like relevancy and worth and value. And his worth, his value is seen in what he does, who he is. He's a wrestler. And it hit a nerve for me because I'm not a Bray Wyatt guy. Like I thought it was gimmick. It was cool when it was the Wyatt family, when you had all three of them there, and it was a thing. And then they went off their way, and he went off his way. Um, and I'm not super into the dark gimmicks, but I hope we see more of Bray Wyatt, Bray Wyatt. And if we do, I'm on board. Like that's a guy I'll cheer for. But it was moving and it was real and it was like something that I think anybody can get behind. So I want your take on that. Obviously, the return was cool. Like blah blah blah. It was a long
Yeah.
return, but
It it was wonderful. Like to see that real side to him because he's like, he didn't know if anybody cared, anybody, if what he did didn't matter. And you could feel that because he's coming out with all these ideas. The fans are getting over, yet every time he hits a certain point, he falls back down the ladder, or they come up with something stupid, or they like, or even at WrestleMania, they have him lose to not only lose to Randy Orton, but lose like in a quick match, like 4 or 5 minutes when you were building up this feud. And also you got Vince not really getting behind a lot of the decisions. You got wrestling purists that think his whole gimmick is shitting on the business and just he got to deal with all of this around him. So when he hears the crowd giving a damn, that's the validation he needed. I'm Bray Wyatt's back, and the crowd wanted him back.
yeah,
They want him to be the guy to beat the tribal chief. They're begging for this. And to not only have that, you got that mask, that Uncle, I put it as Uncle Howdy or whatever mask, and saying the whole like Bray's now got a split personality. Who killed the world? You did. Revel in what you are. Like, it's probably Bray. I think the Bray's going to be whole thing now is going to be an internal conflict. And the fact that all the Firefly puppets are live action now, it could be all of his personalities coming out.
yeah,
And everything from the cult leader to the Fiend to this new thing he's got going on to Husky Harris. That's where the pig comes in, because of how fat he was. Now he had to lose weight and everything. And playing off of that, like it's Wyatt's internal struggle and him telling a new story and showing how creative this
right,
guy has been to
right,
where no matter what gimmicky, goofy shit he does, his commitment makes you believe. And I've always said that. I don't care how goofy your gimmick is. If you can commit to it and make people believe this is who you are, you can get it over.
Yeah.
And Bray has done that. And then not only Bray coming back, you got Brock Lesnar coming back out of nowhere to fight Lashley.
Yeah, but can we real quick? I'm excited about because you're gonna get into the folks that are coming back. You know, we got Gallows and Anderson coming back.
Yes.
But on the Lashley Lesnar thing, it's not believable to me. Like how the heck does Lesnar gets speared, suplex, jackhammer, and he just sits there and takes all of it. He doesn't get up. Like I know what they're doing. I know what they feel like they have to do to make this believable. But I wanted to see a little more out of Lesnar than what I saw. I saw Lashley as the total aggressor and Lesnar as like this weakling. So
well, the reason they did that was because the week before, Lesnar just destroyed him.
Oh, so, see, I didn't catch it. See, you got to catch me up on these.
Yeah, when Lesnar came back, it was the night after Extreme Rules. He's saying hello, then he goes to the Bobby Lashley, just F5s him, locks in a Kimura lock until he finally decides to break it off on his own. So he just decimated Lashley. That's how he lost the U.S. title. And then Seth.
And so now last week, Lesnar comes out. Lashley handles him.
So now he's got the upper hand, letting him know, hey, this ain't gonna be a pleasure cruise. And then they booked for Crown Jewel, the two of them facing off because they need a match for Saudi Arabia. So it makes sense. Mm-hmm. And there's no Paul Heyman. There's no Roman Reigns to get involved. So we're finally going to see what we've wanted to see. These two badasses just colliding on their own. Yeah, so it's going to be perfect. Then AJ Styles comes out and talking about wanting to join the Judgment Day. And AJ Styles, I'm my brother's keeper. I need family. He goes, I wasn't talking about you. Out comes Gallows and Anderson. Good brothers. Shout out to the Good Brothers. And they come out, decimate. Now we got the 6-man tag for Crown Jewel. So that was brilliant. And I will say this, I can't go into too much detail, but I have a source that tells me there are big plans for Gallows and Anderson. So this is not a waste for them. I can't say what it is because I'm sworn to kayfabe confidentiality, but let's just say what they're going to be doing in the coming months and weeks and everything, there is a plan. And they signed a 5-year deal.
Wow.
And there is a 5-year plan for them that is worth coming in. So that's all I'm going to say. And we had Elias come back. And then that's when the 12-year-old with the damn bongos came out. Can we stop interrupting Elias already? People were excited for this.
He just wanted him to hit his bong, Booch. What's wrong with that?
There's a lot wrong with that. So they go into that. But for me, the biggest return, L.A. Knight. Let me talk to you. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that Wenz is not a big NXT guy. He doesn't watch it. So as L.A. Knight would say, let me talk to you. There is a gentleman who for years in TNA and NWA, his name was Eli Drake. He is hands down one of the best wrestlers in the world today. He has the look. He has the in-ring skill. He has the promo. This guy could be a world champion yesterday. Like this guy, whenever they're ready to put the belt on him, he is ready. He's like, it's like if you saw The Rock in the early version of The Rock when he was like in the Nation, it's kind of like that. That's like his cadence, his style. And they bring him in as LA Knight. He was over in NXT, dominated. Then all of a sudden they call him up to the main roster and they make him Max Dupri. And everyone was pissed. If there's one thing that Vince McMahon did that made me want to wring his wrinkled neck, it was that. You took one of the biggest stars ever and made him a manager for a goddamn male model group that nobody wants to fucking see. Nobody. Gee, I got a male model group. You could have re-signed Tyler Breeze for that one. Or here's an idea. Give a Legends contract to Rick the Model Martel. Let him come in and manage these insufferable dingle dorks. that nobody wants to see. Nobody likes this gimmick. Nobody wants this gimmick, and it was stupid. And for weeks, they had Max Dupree putting up with this crap. You had a great wrestler, and you reduced him to being a manager? On what planet would that make sense? But then Triple H comes in, and here's what I love about Triple H. He is cleaning up every mess that his father-in-law made. He spilled the milk, and now Hunter's in there cleaning it up. And he made and now the old man's sitting in timeout, and he's not getting to play with the toys anymore. And now Triple H is fixing everything. And we finally got, now they had to do a slow build up. They couldn't just end this at random, but they finally did. He took them out with a chair. He said, "Don't call me Max anymore. I'm LA Knight." And then he came out last Friday on SmackDown, got a solid victory, and then put everybody on notice that it's LA Knight's game. Yeah, loved it. I am so glad he's back. So I'm happier for LA Knight than I am any of the other returns, because I was more waiting for that. Because I'm telling you, LA Knight, keep an eye on him on the main roster. He is your next star because he embodies everything. I'm waiting for him. At best, he should be Intercontinental Champion, but I'm telling you right now, he could be the undisputed Universal Champion right now. He's that damn good.
Wow. So, I mean, Booch, let's talk about the undisputed heavyweight champion scenario here. We got a lot to talk about. But what we have straight ahead of us is a crown jewel to be polished, a crown jewel to look at and think, is this lead? Is this the biggest jewel of them all? Is this person? Is it believable? Roman Reigns, he's been the guy forever, right? I I have a big problem with Logan Paul being booked in this match this early. I don't have a problem with it down the line. I have a problem with it right now. And I know this is a cash grab. I know this is a spectacle. This has a carnival vibe. This has a very like, come on, come all, come see the amazing Logan against Roman Reigns. Even though we all know Roman Reigns is gonna win. Like, it's just not gonna. How can Logan Paul beat up on the Bloodline? Like, and not even just them. Like, now you have these gingers coming out of the woodwork, joining the Bloodline, wearing honorary Bloodline T-shirts, and to me, like, it's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. You talk about people that actually deserve a chance. I could give you 5 right off the top of my head, people that are more deserving of an actual legit shot Universal Championship. I'm upset, and I may be less upset by the time Crown Jewel comes around in November. But right now, I'm upset, and I don't understand this. And Booch, I want you to talk me off the ledge here, or maybe
Okay.
100% agree.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. I understand people's upset, but I look at it like this. Look at the amazing work Logan Paul has done with only 2 matches under his belt. And that's not just 2 matches in the WWE. That's 2 matches, period. His first match ever was at WrestleMania, where he teamed with The Miz against Rey Mysterio and Dominic. His second match, one-on-one with The Miz at SummerSlam. And he stole the show both nights. And the reason I'm okay with this is because I don't want to waste a valuable challenger in Saudi Arabia. That's the thing you got to factor in. It's like the last time they went Saudi Arabia and it was Roman versus Goldberg. It was something to do for the Saudi fans to get that out of the way, to move on with a storyline, rather than take a full-time wrestler and just throw him in there to get smashed and bashed and squashed. You want to give something for the Saudi audience. And it makes it work because then, like I said, we got some new credible challengers now that people have returned, but that list is still short. If you waste one at Crown Jewel, you've got nothing for Survivor Series. You got nothing for the Rumble. You got nothing for Elimination Chamber or Fastlane or any other pay-per-views leading up to WrestleMania. Who's even going to face Roman if Roman's still champ going into WrestleMania? But that's the reason this works, because they're putting Logan Paul in this spot. It doesn't necessarily mean he's going to win, but they got to have something for the Saudi Arabia crowd because most of these guys aren't going to go over there. And Roman's not losing the belt in Saudi Arabia anyway. So why waste a full-time guy? It's like we've always been saying, there's practically no one else. Roman's run through everybody. So it makes sense for him to run through Logan Paul.
Don't you feel like if you lived over there that you would feel like the carnivals come to town? Don't you get that vibe though? Like, oh, I know it's not actually going to happen. Like, doesn't that stink? Don't you feel like if you're a person buying a ticket there, like they're doing this for us. This is a carnival. They're coming to town. They're leaving, and the title changes hands back in the States. Let's be honest.
Yeah. But the Saudi crowd, they're just happy to get any entertainment. It's Saudi Arabia. What else are they really going to see there? This is their moment to have an event that they can go and see and get out of the house and actually be spotlighted and appreciated for the advancements that they've made in the world as a culture. Like, obviously they're not perfect and they're not quite where everybody thinks they should be, but what little improvements they have made are still drastic for the culture. And, it's a good to spotlight what positive things they have done instead of just always thinking about the negative things they've done. And it's a way for WWE to shine a light on that and to entertain them and to give them a show. Like, most of the Saudi crowd's not really going to care about storyline here. They're there to see a show. So as long as the matches don't suck, which I don't think they will, because Roman and Logan know how to work, it can be a great match. Now, like I said, I know Roman's not losing the title. At the same time, if he did, I'd have no objections to it because, again, they've run through practically everybody. The only salvation we got is guys like Bray Wyatt coming back and a few others that are left that can give Roman the run for his money. So that's why I'm okay with it, and that's why I don't think anybody else will be okay with it, because, again, Logan's not winning the title. It's not happening. We all know that. Saudi doesn't know that, but we know that because they have seen title changes in Saudi Arabia before, like when The Fiend beat Seth Rollins.
Oh, they know that. Come on.
So that's why to them, there might be a possibility of, well, we don't think he's going to win, but we have had title changes here before, so they might swerve us. But we're analysts. We're smarter than that. We know it's not going to happen. But most fans don't have that kind of brain. So that's why people tell me all the time, can't you shut your brain off? No. Once you've seen what I've seen, you can't unsee it. That's why if you want to suspend the disbelief, don't get on the dirt sheets and stay ignorant. Otherwise, you see what I see, you can't unsee it. I have this gift, but it's also a curse when having to watch wrestling.